get into the shoulders a bit. So if you have a strap or something that you can use in place of a yoga strap, feel free to grab it. Scarf, belt, even a towel or a t-shirt could work. So go ahead and keep one nearby, and we'll start in a comfortable seat. Okay, cool. So if you take a second to land, you're invited to close your eyes, and we're just going to take a few moments to pause and pay closer attention to the breath. Eyes can soften here or maybe close. And you can breathe in and out of the nose. You can always exhale out the mouth if that feels helpful. And just try to feel any sensations related to your breathing. Maybe the sensation of the air as it enters your nose. Feeling the air fill up the deepest part of your lungs. And noticing the body contract as you breathe out. And take just a few more slow breaths. Maybe a slight pause between your breaths in and breaths out. Maybe one more complete breath. Once you've emptied all the air from the lungs, chin can lower to the chest. You can just pause there, feeling the heaviness of the head, a little more space at the back of the neck. And then add your half neck circle, and you can move slowly here, ear toward your shoulder, taking your sweet time as you rock all the way to the other side. And you can always pause on either side or anywhere along that spectrum and take a few breaths anywhere that feels tender or tight. And you also have the option to go into full neck circles, elongating the neck on all sides by lifting up through the chin as you make those rounds. And rotating both ways. And then we're going to pause for a few breaths with your ear to your left shoulder, right hand by your side, and add some little movements, beginning with some rotation at the wrist, perhaps flexing and extending the wrist up and down, or even side to side. You can take those rotations into the upper arm as well. And it can feel good here to add movement with your head. Notice how it feels to tuck your chin toward the left shoulder. Actively reach the opposite hand away from the body. And maybe swivel the gaze to gaze slightly up toward the sky as you lengthen the chin away from the floating hand. And with an exhale, release and reset at center. And then go ahead and take your ear to the opposite shoulder. Other hand lifts by your hip. Go ahead with those small movements, wiggling fingers, rotating at the wrist. Continuing with those deep breaths in and out the nose. Option to spin the upper arm a few times while adding movement with your head and neck. And just a couple more moments on this side. And With a breath out, release, reset at center. Yeah, and a moment for the head to be heavy here. And as you breathe in, we're going to lift up to the chin and look up toward the sky. And then exhale, lower chin back to your chest. One more deep breath. As you inhale, look up. And exhale, return chin to chest. This time, inhale and look forward. We're going to reach the arms up toward the sky. Notice how much length you can find from the sitting bones through the tips of the fingers. And then exhale and rotate to the left with the arms wide. You might choose to keep your arms in line with your shoulders. Do your best to lift from the center of the chest. And then maybe take the gaze toward the back hand. Breathing full, growing tall through the top of the head. And on the inhale, reach up, face the front. And then exhale, swivel from the mid and upper back as you rotate the opposite way. Arms continue to spread wide, but shoulder blades are softening down the back away from the ears. Inhale, reach up, face forward. And then exhale, tilt over to one side. Take a few breaths there. We're encouraging as much space as you can create between the ribs, the breath, grounding down through the sitting bone and reaching through the top hand. And you can add some circles with the top arm, starting with the thumb to the back, rotating the palm up to the sky, and then flipping the palm down to the earth as you reach all the way across. And notice how much space you can create from the sitting bones through the side body and out the fingertips. A couple more here. And let the next one bring you all the way over to the opposite side. And then pause for a few breaths. Really encouraging that space between the intercostal muscles, the muscles between your ribs. And go ahead with your arms circles if you wish. Connecting breath and movement. Inhale as you reach up and expand the chest. Exhale as you reach across in the front of the body. A couple more rounds. And then we're going to float from side to side. So let your breath guide you here. Inhales bring you upright. And exhale as you arc. Keep flowing. One more time each way. And then find your way back to center and just pause for a breath. And we're going to rotate onto our hands and knees next. So once you find all fours, spread your fingers nice and wide, knees under your hips. We're going to start with just a few hip circles, and you can, of course, move in whatever ways you're craving this morning, afternoon, evening, depending where you're tuning in from. Toes might tuck as you send the hips closer to the heels. You can even rock hips from side to side a few times. Take a couple more breaths, moving how you need. And we'll just take a couple breaths to get into our wrists. So you might choose to spin your thumbs to the top edge of your mat, fingers to the left and right. Hands can come a little closer together for this one, and we're going to press into our knuckles and fingertips and let your chest sink down and head relax. You should feel the shoulder blades begin to slide together at your back. In addition to side, you can play with rotating circles. So think about taking your heads of the shoulders around the base of the wrists. And after a few spins one way, go ahead and round the opposite. And then the option here to pause at center and turn one palm up to the sky. Fingers are either pointing toward the other hand, or you can spin the fingers to point back toward the knees. You might play with some movement, opening and closing your fingers a few times. And you can shake it out and switch sides. Palm up, maybe playing with those movements and the fingers. And then release that. You can take a moment to come onto your knees. If you want to sit on a block, that's great too. You can shake out the wrists. We're going to bring the base of the wrists together and do your best to keep them glued together and take little figure 8 movements with your wrists here. So index knuckle is leading the movement. And then notice which thumb you have on top. Undo the hands, lace them the opposite way, and take another round of those figure 8s. You can't keep the hands interlaced the weird way and press the palms away from the body. Here you're going to pull the belly in toward you, actively spread the shoulder blades apart, perhaps bring the chin closer to the chest. Another full breath, really reach the hands away from you. And an option to keep the hands interlaced and reach the arms up by your ears. Really lengthen here, grounding through the feet, knees, shins. Pressing the palms up toward the sky. And maybe tilt over to one side. Notice if you're kind of rounding in the chest, see if you can lift the heart and turn the top armpit up toward the sky. Use your abdominals and your inhale to slowly rewind to center and tilt the other way. So again, we're trying to open the chest up toward the sky here. One more time. Inhale, center. Exhale, tilt. We got to even it out. So the breath in, make your way back to center and through to the opposite side. This time as you rewind to center, release your hands, take your elbows wide, hug the shoulder blades together and pause here. Notice if you can lift the center of the chest and maybe lift the elbows in front of your wrists. So slight shift here by pressing the elbows forward. You should feel your shoulder blades kind of pressing the upper chest toward the sky. Another breath. And then gently release, hands to the earth, back to your tabletop position. And we'll start with the left leg to the back of the mat, toes on the ground. Stretch out through the heel. And maybe wake up some movement in the feet with some forward motion. And here you can lift that leg to about hip height. Give the ankle a spin. And then activate the muscles of the leg by pointing or flexing those back toes. You can stay here and press the earth away. You can also reach the opposite arm forward. Nice long breath. Even longer body. And some of you might hold here, or as you exhale, round the back and draw the elbow and knee underneath you. They don't have to touch, but they can come close. Inhale to reach and extend. Exhale, round the back and press the earth away. Do that a few times, moving slow and controlled with the breath. Inhale as you lengthen. Exhale, curl. One more time. Next time, inhale to get long. We're going to lower just the hand. Take the floating toes to the opposite side of your mat. Go ahead and look over the right shoulder at the back foot and see if you can stack your heel directly over your toes. So you might shift your heel toward the big toe side of the back foot. Hands are glued to the mat. And without going anywhere, feel like you're trying to turn to the left. So left hand energetically, it's not moving, is pressing down more than anything, but trying to slide to the back of your mat. A couple of those nice expansive breaths. And then come back to hands and knees. Wiggle it out. Option for a couple of cat cows. Any variation, sideways cat cow, traditional version. Another breath. And then step the right foot to the back of the mat, toes on the ground. We're stretching out the back of the leg, maybe moving forward a few times. Then option to lift that leg to hip height, swirl the ankle, point and flex the foot. And feel those back leg muscles working by keeping the foot flexed or pointed. Opposite arm might reach out forward here, thumb to the sky. Really lengthen breath and body. An option to hold or with your breath out, round the back like cat pose and engage the abdominals as you curl. Keep it going. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, round. Lower you go, the harder it is. Do your best to move skillfully here. Few more. Really helps to press the ground away with the hand and shin touching the earth. This time you're going to lengthen on the breath in and then lower just your hand. Take the floating leg to the other side of the mat and look over the opposite shoulder in the direction of the back foot. Totally okay if you can't see the foot here, but notice how it feels to shift your heel toward the big toe side slightly. Hands are pressing down into the mat firmly. And you're not moving, but feeling as though you're trying to make a right turn with the hand. So right hand is trying to drag energetically to the back edge of your mat. Another expansive breath. And then gently release to center. Do a few more rounds of cat-cow. If anyone's wrists need a breather, you can come onto your knuckles or forearms even while you take cat-cow. We are going toward child's pose or embryo pose next. So if you're ready for that, set yourself up for embryo pose. Knees come closer together. Arms are gonna come back by your sides. Let the arms be heavy on the ground here. And the head can rest on the earth as well. If it doesn't quite have the support of the earth, you can use a block or something underneath the head here. And take those full breaths, even if it feels constricted in the belly. Allow that softening with your exhalations. You can choose to be still. You can add some movement from side to side, massaging the space between the brows, a little rocking in your hips. You're welcome to stay in embryo pose a little longer or find extended child's pose if you're not yet there. With the knees wide, big toes together, arms out long. Palms can press into the ground. Arms can also just be softly resting on the mat. Bring your awareness back to your breath. And again, option for some side to side wiggling. Maybe pressing into one shin, rocking the hips toward the opposite edge of the mat. And if you have your arms extended, you can take your hands over to the right side of the mat. Hands can remain shoulder wide, or you can plant one hand on top of the other. Notice how it feels to push down through the palm. Lengthen out the fingertips and get heavy in your hips. As you breathe in, take your time, hands shift over to the opposite edge of the mat. You can choose hands wide or palms stacked. Head should relax softly between the biceps. You encourage length from fingers to the hips. And then come back to center. Perhaps turn the palms to the sky. Press the forearms into the ground. And without going anywhere, find the sensation of doing both simultaneously, reaching out the fingertips and trying to pull your elbows in toward your knees. You can do this on the floor. If you have a couple blocks, you can also elevate your arms on blocks. So if you're staying on the floor, simply bend your elbows and bring the thumbs to the back of the neck. If you want to use blocks, you can set your blocks up about shoulder wide with enough space for your head to fit between them. You're going to bring elbows to about the center of your blocks. And then same idea, hands together in prayer, thumbs to the back of the neck, and letting the head and heart melt down toward the ground with those nice full breaths. And whether you're elevated or on the earth, you can see how it feels to kind of lean in toward one arm, and then slowly shift the weight to the other side. And maybe a few more breaths, toggling from side to side, or distributing the weight and remaining at center. One more breath. And we're going to gently release, coming back through to all fours. And for this next one, come into a downward facing dog. So hips go high. A few breaths to warm up in your down dog by bending the legs, swiveling in the hips and the torso. Option for movement from down dog to plank. And then take another breath. Maybe bend the knees generously. Send the tailbone up and back. And as you breathe in, look forward, walk the feet closer to your toes. Keep a bend in the knees and let the upper body be heavy. Arms can link at the elbows. You can choose to sway gently. Might feel nice to just relax the head and neck with some yes and no movement. And you can stay in a forward fold. You can release the arms. If you've got a block, you're welcome to place a block underneath your face. You might start on a high or medium setting. If you don't have a block, you can be on fingertips here. Let's go left hand on the block, bend the left knee a lot, and reach the right arm high to the sky. So notice how much you can create space across the chest. We're going to glue that big toe down that you're turning toward. Take another breath and maybe spin the gaze toward the top hand. And as you exhale, slowly switch side. Top hand comes down to the earth or the block. You're bending the right knee generously and sending the other arm high. Notice how much you can reach your heart forward. So you're working toward a flat back rather than rounded spine if possible. We're going to do that one more time. So as you exhale, top hand becomes the bottom. Bend the knee on the same side as the hand that's grounded and find that space across the chest. One more breath here. And as you exhale, slowly switch. Another complete breath. And on the exhale, fold forward. Blocks can stay near the top of the mat. You're going to uncurl towards standing. Letting the head be the last to rise. Add your shoulder circles once you arrive. And let's spin the opposite direction. And then for this next part, we're going to bring that strap into place. So go ahead and grab what you've got. And if you are using a strap that has a buckle, you might use one hand closer to the buckle so you don't do any damage here. We're going to start with the hands about hip width or a little bit wider, knuckles reaching forward. And you're going to float your arms to about shoulder height. Keep a soft bend in the knees, activate the core, and reach the knuckles forward, maybe lower the chin to the chest. If it feels good in your body, you can rock your ear toward one shoulder. Notice how it feels to lift the chin slightly, but keep length on the sides of the neck. And then slowly come back towards center and tilt the head the other way. And if you enjoyed that, repeat one more time each side, moving slow. Last one. And then chin to chest, lower the strap for a moment, circle the shoulders a few times. And for this next one, you're going to have hands a little bit wider, so almost maybe double as wide as the hips. And if you need to, you can create more space. We're going to keep those soft bend in the knees and abs engaged. And as you breathe in, reach the arms up and overhead. And for this one, you're going to bend at the elbows slightly as the strap comes behind the head. So again, we're trying to bend the elbows in front of the wrists here and feel the most opening in the upper chest in front of your shoulders. Do a breath in, see if you can grow a little taller. On the exhale, we're going to tilt over to one side. Notice I'm not moving at the arm. Arms stay static and you're tilting at the waist. Finding that top armpit toward the sky, so maybe feeling as though you're doing a tiny back bend here. As you breathe in, make your way back to center. And then again, tilting from the waist over to the opposite side, lifting the chest simultaneously. If that worked for you, option to repeat that or hold the side a little longer. And then last one, even it out. As you return to center, loosen the grip, bring the arms out in front of you, shake it out once again, whatever you got to do. So for this next portion, you're going to keep one hand, if you've got near the buckle, you're going to hold near that buckle and bring that hand to the back of your head. And so with that hand to the back of the head, you're going to use your other hand to walk your hand up the strap. And they don't need to come close here. Find a spot that feels good in your body. That top arm, notice if your elbow is winging out, I want you to bring your bicep closer to your ear. And with the arms in that position, we're going to do a little shoulder flossing. So you're going to use the top hand to kind of gently pull up, and then the bottom arm to gently pull down. And you might not be getting a lot of movement here. That's totally okay. We're just going to continue with this flossing movement up and down. And another thing to be mindful for is if you're kind of like hunched and rounding here, notice if you can lift the chest and maybe use your head to press that upper arm and shoulder open. Just a couple more. And there shouldn't be any kind of pinching or sharp pain. If so, maybe bring the hands a little farther away from one another. And then you're going to keep the hands where they are, and option to rock over, lifting up through that top elbow, shining the top armpit toward the sky, and doing your best not to hold the breath here, but keep breathing. And on the inhale, we're slowly coming back to center. Release the bottom hand, circle the shoulders for a moment. Maybe notice one side, notice the other. And then transition the strap into the opposite hand. We're going to do the other side. So now other hand starts at the back of the head, maybe nape of the neck. You're going to flip the other palm away from the body and then walk that hand up the strap to some point that feels good. And then notice once again, instead of elbow out wide, we're tucking our arm in toward the ear, and then begin with that flossing movement up and down. And again, it doesn't have to be a big movement. The closer the arms are or hands are together, the less movement you might have. So that could also be part of it. Keeping the chest nice and lifted here. And this is a really good exercise to improve your shoulder mobility. So you can move in all the wonderful ways that shoulders are meant to move. And after a couple more rounds up and down, you're going to keep the chest lifted with a breath in, and then lift that top elbow up as you rock over to the other side. So we're really feeling that expansion from the pinky toe edge through the side body and out the top arm. Couple more slow, deliberate breaths. And as you breathe in, come back to center, release the hands, roll the shoulders. Take it out. We're going to do one more with the strap here. So for this one, you're going to bring the strap behind your body. Palms are going to face away from you. Knuckles are going to reach down toward the ground. And I want you to squeeze your shoulder blades together, but without turning the wrist. So shoulder blades together, but palms continue to face the wall behind you. Take a breath in, find that length in the heart, all the way through the top of the head. Feel free to keep that soft bend in the knees. And maybe just lift the chin slightly here without creasing the back of the neck. You are pulling a little bit of tension on the strap, but does not need to be like 10 out of 10 intensity here. And if you want to stay tall, that's great. You also have the option to fold with your breath out from the hips. Keep that soft bend in the knees, and then see how it feels to lift the arms away from the body and let your head and neck relax. This can be intense. If you need to come out of it, listen to the body and do so at any time by bringing the hands closer to the low back and then ditching the strap as you rise. If this works for you, feel free to be here a little longer and maybe add a twist. So as you inhale, you can lift the heart slightly and then bend the left knee and spin toward the right thigh with the heart reaching forward. And when you're ready, you can spin the other way. So bend the right knee, turn the chest toward the straighter leg. And if you like that option, maybe swivel from side to side a couple of times. And if you are ready to come out of it, again, hands can come back toward the hips. You can release one or both sides of the strap and then slowly make your way to standing. Give yourself a second to let the blood rush back. We're going to ditch the strap for now. And as you feel ready, take a deep breath in, arms reach all the way around and up. Maybe notice all that spaciousness you created in the shoulder joint. And exhale, hands to the heart. Let's do that again. Deep breath in. And as you exhale this time, we're going to fold at the hips. Find your breath in with a half lift, heart forward, flat back, hands maybe on the shins or gliding higher to your thighs. Again, notice how it feels to activate those muscles along your spine. So squeeze your elbows tight to the body, reach the crown of the head toward the top of the mat. And on the exhale, fold forward. Inhale, rise back to standing, reach up, look up. Exhale, hands to the heart. Let's add on kneeling lunge, deep breath in. Exhale and fold. Inhale halfway. And on the exhale, hands come down, right foot steps back. We'll lower to the right knee, and hands can start on the front side. From here, take a breath in, arms reach up by the ears, and then exhale, cactus the arms, open the chest. Couple more like that. As you breathe in, reach up, and on the exhale, hug the shoulder blades together. One more time, inhale, reach. Exhale, open. This time, inhale, reach up. And as you exhale, you can bring hands to your hips. So the knee that you're kneeling on, I want you to swivel that foot behind you so your chest turns a little more to the long edge of your mat. You might reposition that front foot slightly to keep knee and toe pointing forward. And we're going to take a kneeling warrior two. So start to lunge in toward that front leg. And notice if the knee wants to cave inward. Open the knee wide so you're getting this space in the front of the hips. And you can rock back and forth in that front leg, moving lunges here at your own pace. If it feels good to stay low in your lunge, also great. Yeah, keep it going. Now, option to keep going with this movement. Another optional add-on you can play with is using one or perhaps both blocks near the back of the mat. So you might use one or stack two blocks here, depending how what you've got and how much space you've got. I'll start with one. So back hand's going to come onto the block a little farther away from that back knee. You're going to straighten the leg you were lunging into and turn the toes in the direction of the long side of the mat. Top arm's going to karate chop the horizon. And once the bicep is by the ear, turn your chest open toward the sky. So shine that top armpit toward the ceiling. Keep pressing down with the bottom hand and find length from your pinky toe through the top pinky finger. As you squeeze the buns here, press the hips forward. Another full breath. And then perhaps find a half kneeling position. So use your abdominals here to rock upright and lift the bottom hand up toward the sky. We're going to do that a couple of times. So again, moving slow and skillfully here, tilt back to the shape you started. And on the inhale, reach the bottom arm up. And one more time as you exhale, return. Awesome. This time, come back up to your kneeling position. And we're just going to switch sides. So you can come through kneeling. You're going to step the back foot forward. And we're going to just have hands on the hips and start to lunge in toward that back leg. So again, knees tracking over toes, shoulders in line with your hips. Yeah. Just notice how it feels on this side. Maybe linger at the bottom of your end range. Or keep it moving. Couple of breaths. And then your call. If you're using one or both blocks, set yourself up at the other side of the mat. So again, you're on a little bit of space between the block and the back leg. Ideally, the block's out in front of the bottom shoulder. Toes are going to turn towards the long edge of the mat, and then top arm sweeps the horizon. And once the bicep is by the ear, find that rotation in your chest. Whatever's touching the earth, press it down into the ground and find a nice long line from fingers to toes. Your abdominals are working, the glutes are working. There's a lot going on here in this side plank variation. And as you breathe in, you can use your abdominals and slowly rise upright. Bottom arm reaches high to the sky. And then take your time rewinding back to where you started. And again, with the breath, slowly rise to that half kneeling position. And exhale, lower. As long as you're consistent with the breath, it's not so critical when you inhale and exhale. Last one. And this time we're going to cartwheel the arms down and find our downward facing dog. You're welcome to take a moment in child's pose if you'd like. A few deep breaths. And then we'll inhale and lift the right leg up and back. Here's where you can turn the front of the hips to the long side of the mat. Leg is either straight or a bend in the knee. On the inhale, look forward, step it through, and find your warrior two. So back heel comes down. Front knee lunges toward a 90-degree bend, and arms are going to float over your ankles. So like we were just doing, let's lunge into that front knee a couple of times. Straighten as you breathe in, arms reach up. And then exhale back to warrior two. Twice more. Inhale, reach. Exhale, return. Last one with your breath. Once you find your warrior, reverse the arms. Right arm reaches up and back away from the bent knee. Maybe gaze toward the back pinky toe edge and press that edge of the foot down. On the exhale, find your extended side angle. Option to bring forearm to the front thigh, karate chop the horizon, and then spin the chest open. So similar to that kneeling position we were just in. Find that long line as you press into the back heel and actively reach through the top fingers. And on the breath in, slowly rise back upright. Exhale, cartwheel the arms down, step back to your plank. Maybe pause in the push-up. Use those core muscles. Option to tap the knees and lower down to the belly, nice and slow. And find your back bend, perhaps Sphinx pose with elbows under your shoulders. We're activating our legs by pressing the tops of the feet into the earth. Notice if you can connect even that pinky toenail on both sides to the ground. Nice. And then from here, little back strengthening work. You're going to lower down to the chest and cactus the arms. Float the arms away from the ground. And on the breath in, lift the chest even higher. Maybe the feet float as well. Option as you breathe in to reach the arms out long. And on the exhale, cactus the arms, squeeze the shoulder blades together and float a little higher. Let's do 3. Inhale, reach. Exhale, float and squeeze. For 2. And 1 more. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, float. And then reset in downward facing dog for another breath. As you breathe in, lift the left leg up and back. Option to turn the front of the hips to the long side of the mat with the legs straight or bent. As you breathe in, look forward, step the foot through, back heel comes down and rise to warrior 2. Once you've got your footing, set yourself up so you're lunging in toward that front knee and take 3 lunges with your breath. Inhale to extend. And exhale, bend. Last one when you're ready. Keep the legs in warrior 2. Reverse your arms. Front arm reaches up and back. Maybe gaze toward the back pinky toe edge. And as you exhale, find your extended side angle. Option for forearm on the thigh. Top arm by your ear. Chest peeling open toward the sky. As you breathe in, slowly rise. And then exhale, arms cartwheel down. Perhaps pause in your push-up. And then you choose with or without the knees, lowering with control, nice and slow. As you arrive softly, find your back bend. Perhaps Sphinx pose. Heart is pulling forward here. Glutes are working. Find a slight tuck in the tailbone to elongate the lumbar spine. And maybe you hold and breathe here, or we'll do another few rounds of those strengthening postures of the arms. This time, arms can float by your sides, palms facing the ground. We're still peeling the front of the shoulders away from the earth and squeezing the shoulder blades in toward your spine. Option to lift the legs, and as you inhale, really lengthen fingers and toes to the back of the mat, top of the head in the opposite direction. Notice as you breathe in, can you float just an inch higher? Maybe you can keep that height as you exhale. Just one more breath. Lift on the breath in. Hold there on the breath out. And then take a moment on the belly. Maybe hands as a pillow or palms to the sky for a belly shavasana. A couple of those deep belly breaths. You can totally bend at the knees and swish your legs windshield wiper style, side to side. Or just take a few breaths in stillness and melt into your mat. One more complete breath. And then we're going to slowly press ourselves back through to downward facing dog and take a moment in down dog. You might choose to use a strap for this next one. If it's not nearby, feel free to bring it a little closer. As you breathe in, we're going to lift the right leg up and back. And then exhale, plant the foot between the hands, come back to your warrior 2. So back heel spins down, front knee lunges toward that 90-degree bend. Arms are going to start by reaching over the ankles. And then from here, you can clasp your hands behind your back, drive the knuckles down. And again, this is where you can use a strap to extend your reach. Otherwise, front of the chest is peeling open. Heart is lifting, spine is lengthening. And take a moment to just be here, feeling that space in the upper chest. And if you want to take it into humble warrior, you're going to turn the chest slightly to the top left corner of the mat and then fold at your hips. Bring in the right shoulder toward the inside of the front knee. Arms can lift up away from the body and head can be relaxed. Do your best to come back to your breathing here and listen to your body. If you need to come out of the pose, that's okay too. And as you're ready to release, hands can come to the low back. You can undo your grip. I like to take warrior 1.5 here as you're facing that top left corner, arms up by the ears. And as you exhale, take it all the way down to the ground. Option for a push-up and back bend of choice, or just meet in downward facing dog. One breath, one movement. Take another moment as you arrive in down dog. Reconnect with your breathing. Then from the left leg, up and back with an inhale. And exhale, plant the foot between the hands. Back heel glides down and find your warrior two once again. Nice. Notice if you can interlace your hands behind the back the opposite way. Knuckles drive down, chest floats up. And if you're looking for more sensation, you can see how it feels to bring the palms together while trying to rip the hands apart. And again, totally cool to use a strap here too. Option to stay nice and tall with the chest proud, or spin the chest slightly toward the top right corner of the mat and then hinge at the hips. Bringing the left shoulder toward the inside of the front leg, and then arms away from the body with your head relaxed. Couple of breaths, and again, listen to what you need. There's no reason to push if you need a breather. We're going to slowly release, hands to the low back, and then find your warrior 1.5, arms frame the face. Recommit to that lunge in the front knee for just one breath. And then exhale all the way down to the ground. Option for your push-up and back bend of choice. And you can meet in down dog or child's pose. And take a moment to just observe whatever shape you've chosen and how it feels compared to the first version we started with. Take another 3 or so full breaths, focusing on those long exhalations. And go ahead and plant the palms and go back to down dog one more time. And actually, let's step the left foot forward and then turn to the long edge of the mat. You're coming into a wide-legged forward fold. If you'd like, you can totally bring blocks into play here and have hands on blocks with the heart reaching forward. And you can also have fingertips on the earth if that feels accessible. You might take a half lift as you breathe in, heart forward, tailbone lifting up and back, and then fold as you exhale. On the next inhale, you can slowly rise with a flat back all the way to standing. We're going to turn the heels in slightly and toes out. And then give yourself a big hug. So you can start with a breath in and the arms wide, and then cross one arm over the other, grabbing opposite shoulder. Take a moment here and then sink low into your squat, knees nice and wide. We're going to do these thoracic spinal rounds. So you're going to tilt over to the one side, start to round your back, think cat pose, elbows lengthening away from the body, and then rock over to the other side, coming into a baby back bend. And take another circle in this direction, all the way around, doing your best to move slow and skillfully. And then next time you find yourself upright. You're going to straighten the legs and peel the arms wide. And remember which arm you had on top. We're going to give ourselves a hug the other way. Take a breath in to prepare, and then drop it back low into your squat, knees nice and wide. Let's take it to the other side. So tilt over to the side, and then start to round forward, lengthening the elbows away from you. Coming over to the other side, and then finding your baby back bend. And again, a couple more circles, moving slow here. It's a really good one for thoracic spine mobility and strengthening the legs in your squat. Once you rise, burst open, star pose, take up space. And then we're going to come all the way down to your mat. So come onto your back, and you can start to bring knees into your chest. If it feels good, you can rock and roll from side to side or along the length of your spine, or simply circle the knees as you slow your breathing down. And then we're going to bring both feet down to the ground. So knees bent, feet on the earth. You're going to take a mini bridge. So lift your hips up and scoot your hips over to the left side of the mat. Place the hips back down, and then take both knees all the way to the right side. So kind of like chair pose on your side. Knees, hips, and ankles are stacked at 90 degrees. Arms can open wide like a T. You can also cactus the arms here with the palms facing up. And they may not touch, but you're trying to encourage both shoulder blades to soften down toward the ground. And if it feels good for the neck, you can turn your gaze away from your knees and take a few deep belly breaths. Just feel the body softening into this shape. You might even let your eyelids soften or close. Do one more breath on this side. And then as you breathe in, slowly rewind to center. You might choose to bring knees into your chest once again. That rocking movement or circling of the knees. And we're going to bring both feet down to the ground and take that mini bridge. So lift the hips, scooch the hips over to the right side of the mat, place them back down, and then swivel the body over to the left with the knees, hips, and ankles at a 90-degree bend. And then taking the arms wide with palms facing up. And again, notice if you can soften the shoulder blades down toward the earth while keeping the knees, hips, and ankles back. Notice if you can slow the breath down and extend the lengths of your exhales to be double the lengths of your breaths in. Again, feel free to let your eyes soften as the breath deepens. Take just a couple more breaths on this side. And when you feel ready, using an inhale, slowly make your way back to center. Knees can come in toward your chest once more. You can rock a little from side to side. And last bit of energy is just giving yourself a little hug, maybe a tight squeeze with the forehead lifting up toward the knees. And then relax into your final Shavasana here with the legs extended, feet rolling away from one another, palms facing the sky. And take one more deep breath in. Maybe pause for a moment at the top of that breath. And then exhale completely. And just feel the body deflating as if you were a balloon and dissolving back into the earth, letting any remaining tension and tightness dissipate and soak up all the benefits of your practice. I'll leave you for a few moments in stillness and quiet and let you know when it's time. If you have the means, I encourage you to stay still a little longer. But if it's time to shift gears, start with an expansive breath deep into the belly, into the ribs, and all the way into the upper chest. And then let it all go. Maybe begin to wiggle fingers, toes, ankles, and wrists. You might choose a full body stretch with the arms overhead. And then optional bend the knees and rock towards your favorite side, perhaps pausing there and taking a moment to register this feeling. Take your time to press yourself back upright. And we'll conclude with just one more full breath. As you find your tall spine, begin by exhaling all the air from the lungs. And then breathe in through the nose, perhaps hands together at the heart. And let your breath go. Thanks, everyone, for continuing to show up and do the work. Until next time, namaste.